So, an ongoing storyline right now is Matt Duchene. Where's Matt Duchene going to go, and what are you going to get for him? Or what are you going to get him for? How much do you have to give up? Now, rumor has it they want a defenseman. Let me see. Where is it? It's in here. Because this is the big storyline. Young high-end defenseman, a first rounder, and a top prospect. So think about this. Let's say the Canucks say they wanted him. High end defenseman. You're looking at stature wouldn't be considered high end. Levy is high end. So Levy, first round draft pick, and then top prospect. So Besser. That's just for if the Canucks were putting it together, and that I don't know if that would get it done or not. I don't know how high end of a prospect they want. Now I see people commenting like Carolina would be a natural fit, and you trade Hannafin and a first and something else, and it's like, wait, you're giving up Hannafin? No. If you're Carolina, you do not give up Noah Hannafin. And this is when it gets silly. This is what the whole trade deadline is for me anyways. It's kind of an exercise in futility trying to argue with these people too. I remember when every trade um, offered by Canuck fans on the Canucks forum was Ballard, Raymond, and a first. Well, we'll give them Keith Ballard and Mason Raymond and a first, and they'll send us Stamkos. They'll send us whoever. Not all players have equal value, of course. So not every team is going to be a natural fit. And Noah Hannafin is a very, very, very good player. And it's a tough position because for Colorado and for Joe Sakic, this is the trade that could either cost him his job, or save his job. What he does with this asset will decide whether or not he's still the GM in a few years. Because as much as Colorado may have this feel-good relationship with Joe Sakic based on his Stanley Cup wins, that only goes so far. And then there's a results thing that has to take over. So for me, I still think trading Duchene is crazy. I really do. I think trading Duchene is an insane proposal. Um, I think Matt Duchene is a fantastic player. And the funny thing is, when you see this, it takes three pieces that big to get him. People right away go, Duchene's not that good. Then he didn't watch the World Cup. Yeah, I've been watching Colorado Avalanche games where a lot of nights Duchene's the only really good forward they got out there. I know a lot of people like Landeskog. I don't see it. I don't see Landeskog with the ceiling that Duchene has. I can see it with McKinnon. I think Duchene's better than McKinnon. That's the thing. I think Matt Duchene is the best player in the Colorado Avalanche lineup. So if they're going to trade him, they're going to have to get a premium back because you can only trade him once. And when you look back on history, you can look on teams that have done it right, like Quebec did when they traded Lindros, and you look at a team that did it kind of right, like the Oilers did with Gretzky. They didn't get full value back, but it's Gretzky. And then you look at Gretzky going to St. Louis, and the Kings got virtually nothing worthwhile back in that. You can only trade these guys once. You know, the big names don't move very often. Duchene is a big name. He is one of the better players in the NHL. He is a premier player. And if you put him with guys who have the offensive acumen of players in Washington or Pittsburgh or Columbus or Minnesota right now, his numbers are going to go through the roof. So, in terms of what it's going to take to get Duchene, it's going to be a lot. Is he worth it? Yeah. But is he worth it to your team is the problem. Because not every superstar player fits particularly well where they go. I use the Gretzky example again. Gretzky goes from Edmonton to LA and turns the team around. He goes from LA to St. Louis And I was one of the people who said, "Oh my God, you're gonna have Brett Hull and Wayne Gretzky on the same line. They're gonna be unstoppable." No, they were stoppable because Gretzky wasn't the same player that he'd been in Edmonton, and it just didn't work. So you don't know until players are together. You could trade, let's say Pittsburgh puts together some insane offer and they manage to get Duchene. You don't know if he's going to have chemistry with the other players he's playing with. Nick Bonino in Pittsburgh is an example where he didn't particularly show a lot in Vancouver in the second half of the season that he was here. He goes to Pittsburgh and finds wingers who really complement his style and that he can really play well with. And suddenly he looks like one of the better third line centers in the NHL. Now, of course, the Canucks wanted to be a second line center to replace Kessler, but that's not really his game. And Duchene is a first line center. I find it funny that he's being tied to Montreal because Montreal is not a city that I look at and say, yeah, he should go there. And then the other funny part too is that if they don't get Duchene, then the next best center available could be Martin Hanzal out of Phoenix. Hanzal is not what Montreal needs. They need a dynamic offensive forward. Hanzal is a good meat and potatoes kind of forward. I don't see the dynamic part there. I think they've got guys who kind of fit the Hanzal mode a little bit already, or mold already. And I don't know that Hanzal, I mean, it makes Montreal better. Depends what they give up for him, too, though. But I think he'd make Montreal better. But does he put them into a situation where they can really challenge teams from the Metro? And I really don't know that he does. Duchene does. Duchene is that good. I'm not a Colorado fan. Uh, I have nothing on the line in this except to say that Matt Duchene's trade out of Colorado is Joe Sakic's career as a GM. Not overall, of course, because his playing career was fantastic, but as a GM, this is it. He gets one shot to do this right, and that's it. So, do I expect Matt Duchene to move at the deadline? Is another question. I don't know that I do. I have a funny feeling that it could end up being Landeskog that goes. I think the asking price for Gabriel Landeskog will be a little bit lower, and I think he'll be a little more palatable. And I think there's a perception that he has a higher ceiling. I I don't know. I think we've already seen that ceiling with Landeskog. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. And we'll see who steps up and makes that offer. Anyways, let me know in the comments below who you think is going to make an offer, what you think is going to get it done. Go ahead, throw proposals down there. If you're Montreal fans, throw proposals in there for what you think Montreal has to give up. And then let me know who else you think is going to move. Because as I said, this is the big key piece in the deadline. And if Duchene gets traded in, say, the next 3 or 4 days, if somebody's able to step up and put an offer into Colorado that they can't refuse, I keep trying to say Columbus, I don't know why. If Colorado can put in an offer that, or if Colorado gets an offer that they can't refuse, then that can set the table for a very active trade deadline. Because then it forces other teams around that one that makes that move to make moves to get better to stay ahead of them. And then you have an arms race. And that's what's really, really good for the trade deadline. Otherwise, everybody just stands pat and you go into the playoffs with what you've got. So yeah, that's the news of the morning, it seems. I will be back to discuss some other things. There's some historical stuff I'm looking at. There's some other things I'm looking at as well in terms of hockey, and I'll be back to discuss that soon. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're just browsing your way through, and I'll talk to y'all again soon.